car, I be on job and I put it on God, they ain't nobody stopping me.
Whatever training program you're using, if it's not sentinel training, you're wasting your time. HWPO doesn't PO. Proven is actually okay, but ours is better. Get some GPP in your life, uncle. We program fun and challenging workouts and preserve the most effective cure for and barrier against chronic disease. We review your workouts and give feedback and spend hours getting the workouts right. Sign up now at trainsentinel.com. If you don't, well then everything they say about you is true, you concubine.
Look at this World Fitness photograph. Welcome to Coffee Pods and Wads. Thank you, Seth, for coming on.
You're welcome.
So obviously for the last, since its inception, all I've been doing is talking negatively about World Fitness Project, just because I hate World Fitness Project, Will Morad, and I'm a bootlicker for Dave and HQ, and I'm on HQ's payroll. So I thought to counter that, I'd get someone who's on World Fitness Project's payroll to come on. You actually are on their payroll. So the kind of joke ends there.
I am paid. Yeah, I will.
You're a, what do you call it? Is it a shill?
You could call it that. Shilling something that actually it doesn't make sense for me to shill it because it doesn't pay me anymore. I'm paid a nice flat rate to share my insight.
Okay. Maybe I should start paying you. Someone messaged me today and said, Seth and Adrian are your two best guests.
Wow.
Yeah. A corporate chill. Yeah. There used to be a phrase, if you left Ireland and went to England during harder times, that you were taking the Queen's shilling. That was the phrase that was used. So you're taking the Jackson cent.
I will say this. So when
they pay really well.
It's incredible. It's changed my life. No. When they offered me the opportunity to go be their sports analyst, I was like, wow, that's kind of interesting. That sounds like fun. I don't really get to do much in the competitive fitness space these days because it's just not my main focus, but I have all these years of experience in the space. And I'm like, what the hell do I do with it? So I was kind of mulling it over for a day or two when they offered it to me. And I'm like, you know what? That'd be really fun for me. And I agreed to it before I knew there was even any pay involved. I was going to go do it just because they're like, oh, we'll fly you out. And I was like, okay, that's cool. I didn't even know they were going to pay me. And then 3 days later, they're like, oh yeah, here's a contract with payment. I'm like, oh, really? Cool. Okay.
Oh, maybe cool. I fully expected that to happen. I'm not surprised by this.
I mean, to be fair, I've been in the competitive CrossFit space for a long time. And most of these events, at least in the time I was more involved, they were looking for volunteers. They were looking for people to come out and do stuff for them. And so I, because it's not really my focus, I don't know what people are supposed to get paid for that sort of stuff these days. I have no idea. It's just not my expertise. So when they offered me anything, I was like, wow, great. Now I can really justify this to my wife.
It's the hardest thing. I find that easily the hardest thing to do. I find it so easy to put a value on someone else's time, but I find it so hard to put a value on if I'm asked, if someone's like, oh, would you do this for us? How much did that cost? I'm like, I don't know, nothing. I'll pay you, whatever. I don't mind.
Right.
But if it's somebody else, I'm like if, I don't know, hypothetically someone was to ask JR to do something, I'd be like, no, you have to find your worth and you have to push for whatever you think you deserve for it and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, it's really, really difficult to do that for yourself.
But for me, I will say, I do know between my gyms, the online company, whatever I'm doing, I know about what my time's worth in terms of what I would charge a one-on-one client or a remote coaching client or whatever else. And so actually, not that there's anything wrong with what WFP is paying me. It's more than fair from what I can see, but it actually doesn't really cover the amount of time I had to miss to go and do that event. So I actually could have made equal to or more with my businesses just doing what I do. So not that I'm taking a pay cut, so to speak, but I'm not running to the pot of gold somewhere. That's just not the case for me either. So, but yeah, again, happy to admit they're compensating me, which is very fair.
Yeah. It's cool though. So I was at French Throwdown, so I was kind of watching some in the evenings, and then there was also in the evenings I was like, God, I just can't watch any more fitness. So it's just watched a bit, got bored, came back, watched another bit, and then I kind of caught up afterwards. You I'm probably biased. Like I like you anyway, and I've had you on the show loads and stuff. But like you were a standout, really good addition. Like I don't know what the desk show, or I don't know what it would have looked like without you there. I don't think it would. I just think it would have fallen pretty flat, because I think the analysis that you offered up, there was one really funny bit where I think they actually made a clip out of it, where you were talking about the GHDs and you were like, in the functional fitness. It's just a brilliant moment of like, world fitness.
Oh, dude, it was happening to me a lot. Yeah.
But yeah, I thought you were fantastic. I thought like the insights were really good. I thought you were first, like, you haven't really done that before, have you? Like broadcast type.
This was so foreign to me, and I actually spent a lot of time, more than they asked me to, preparing for this, because like I told you around the whiteboard show, like I was pretty nervous for it, like legitimately, because it was legit broadcast, like structured to the second for segments, things like that. I had an earpiece in with producers talking to me and stuff. It's like, what? Like that's not what I'm used to. So
that is really fucking hard as well, when someone's talking in your ear, and it's so hard not to be like, what? Like asking to repeat something and you're on a mic. That happened to me when we were was it SoCal, and someone was talking in my ear, and I answered, and then the voice in my ear was like, you're live. And I was like, all right, yeah. Like I said something about like, oh, can we turn off the sound like around us? And the voices just replied and said, you were already live now. And everybody heard that. I was like, cool, okay, welcome back.
Keep rolling.
Yeah, but I thought you were really good. I thought the insight's really good. The analysis is really good. I thought your energy was fantastic, because it's really easy to be nervous and fall flat as a result of that, or sound like underwhelmed, or, you know, just low energy. But I thought it was really good. You spoke like someone who'd been trained in doing it, which is like the highest compliment I can probably give.
Well, thanks. Appreciate that. I really did try. I brought my best A game I could, and I definitely got better as the shows went on. We did 9 shows over 3 days. The first show I was probably a little stiff, and then I started to like find a rhythm and like figured out where to slide little jokes in and comments and things like that. But it was really tough to get the hang of it the first few.
Was it in the contract that you had to get a haircut, or was that just pure coincidence?
I got the haircut before that. I have my wife loved my long hair, and every time I would say like, oh, I'm getting a haircut, I can't handle it anymore, she'd be like, I just love it. You're gonna be ugly without your long hair. And I'm like, gee, thanks. I mean, wow. Jokingly. But then so the deal was, once the baby got here, she could be born with the long hair, and then I could cut it and get a dad haircut, sort of. So that was the deal. So I had 5 years without a haircut, dude.
At all? Wow.
5 years.
You must have had crazy split ends.
Oh, horrible. And like we bleached half of it for fun one time, and like it smelled bad, dude. It was horrible. It could have just turned into dreads any moment. So it was nasty.
Give me like 3, wow, that was really good, that's as good as or better than I've seen done before, and then 3, oh, that fell flat and could have been done better, and that shouldn't have happened like that.
That's
either from you, like from the show that you were on, or from just the whole thing, or from just being at the venue and seeing everything happening.
So the really good, it's the organization was really impressive, like in terms of like how I don't know how long they've been working on that first tour stop, but I got to go, like, you know, peek behind the curtain, spend more time in meetings than I needed to be in, because I was really curious about what was happening. And they were so on their shit. And maybe that's normal. Maybe that's how I've never been behind the scenes of the CrossFit Games like that. So I don't know. But I'm just like sitting there like, wow, you thought of that detail. You thought of that. You thought of that. Like their organization on top of things was, again, maybe that's industry standard, but for me, it was a bit mind blowing. The way they treated everybody was over the top, and it didn't feel forced or fake to me. So a little story, like when I got there, I got there at the venue on like a Tuesday, and the show didn't start till Friday. And I get there, and I walk out the floor. Well, I chose to. I chose to because I was already in Phoenix at my other gym for a previous competition the weekend before that I was running, and I wasn't going to fly back to Hawaii to fly to Indiana, so I just got there early. But so they're setting up the floor, and like the main dudes are out there. Jackson, Saxon and Will, they're literally pulling rubber and building the flooring together, just joking around. So I go out there and talk to them. They're like, "Oh, hey, so happy you're here, whatever." I pull some rubber with them, like put it down, like we're building the floor. Everyone's having a good time. As it goes on and on, people are talking, everyone's communicating, like everyone's joking around. Like the energy was really good. There was no very low stress. I expected to see like the main dudes running around like chickens with their head cut off, stressed as hell, like kind of barking about things that were not going the way. Like it felt like the most just chill atmosphere, and it made me feel more comfortable because I was already stressed out about running back and forth between these live shows, between every event and everything. And they were just like, "Oh, dude, you're doing great. Keep it up. Like this is fun." I'm like, I guess it is kind of fun. So that was really good. And again, this is just behind the scenes. And then one thing for the competition, I guess, I liked that they didn't, in my opinion, like from a coach programmer perspective, I liked that they didn't try to force, we'll call it like the most complete test. It felt more like a regionals thing where their longest test, I think Adler did that like run, snatch, muscle up thing in like 15 minutes or something like that. So if that's like the top time and that's your longest time domain, it made all the 6 events very digestible. For like from a viewership point of view, it made it easier on me to pick the little things that made the differences, to talk about certain athletes, talk about stuff. I think it was just a very digestible format in terms of viewership, because they want to have a balanced test, obviously, or the athletes aren't going to be interested and keep playing if it's too biased. But at the same time, it's just a bunch of short, kind of powerful time domains, some skills built in. I just thought the tests were worthy to watch, each one of them. I didn't get bored. There's normally when you test fitness on a grand scale, like people are bitching about the first event of the CrossFit Games coming up. Yeah, that's not going to be that fun to watch, right? But you do have to do it. You have to do it. And that's what goes into that sort of thing. This, you don't have to do that. So it just, I think watchability in terms of the workouts, it's just, there's not a workout you had to skip. And then you want some negatives? Yeah. I think the negatives, I think everything that people were saying online were pretty fair. I get all the reasons they gave me, because I asked about the stream a lot. I get all the reasons they gave me and gave everybody else about why the stream wasn't on YouTube and why they had to use a certain thing. Like, to me, that is still a negative. I get why they're doing it from their perspective, but I would, if they want to grow, and if it was mine, I would want the organic viewership stumbling across it, getting fed into people's feeds. Like, anyone that's a CrossFitter on YouTube, that's going to come across, right? So you're going to get some new organic viewership. And the no rewind, I know people like made a big thing about it just to like make a big thing, but it is a big deal. And even like for me, if I'm at the event and I had to run and do something and I miss one of the heats and I have to talk about an athlete in that heat, I can't even go back in the stream and watch it over before I do a live show, right? So from my perspective and the viewers, I get that the rewind's a big deal. And I think they're working on it. I don't know if they're going to fix it or not, but they definitely heard that loud and clear. More negatives. I think I think they did a good job running the I forget what they call it. The competitor floor thing, not the main pro floor, but like the side floor where they have the teams and the masters. But I know several of them were surprised that they weren't competing on the main floor when they got there. So I don't know if that was I don't think it was an intentional bait and switch, but I know that was a very secondary thing, and I know it's their first run through. So maybe there's a way they can make them feel more included in terms of the bigger thing, or maybe that's just the way it is going forward. Now the expectation's been set, but I think that was a little bit like, hey, look at this amazing floor with this amazing light show and great music going on. Guys, go in the corner and do your quick heat. So
was the main floor empty when was everybody competing in tandem, or how did it work?
So I think there's basically stuff going all day. It seemed like the side floor was earlier in the morning, maybe, and then the main floor was a little later in the morning. Went on, but they were running simultaneously.
Oh, they were running. Okay, so they couldn't
at times they were.
Okay, yeah.
But maybe you build a way to get like the final workout or like the final heat of the top workout on the main floor, something to give them that experience, because they know they're not the pros, but if you give them one little taste of it across the weekend, that might make the whole weekend. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think the YouTube thing is a big miss. And I think I said it, so they were on my show, and then afterwards they were like, "Oh, what feedback do you have?" And I was like, "About this interview or about what?" And they said, no, about everything that we've done so far. And I gave them some feedback. And one of the things I said was, it's just so dumb not putting it on YouTube. I don't understand the benefits. And I said, I get what you're saying about the AI translation thing, but I don't think that outweighs the organic stumble upon like discoverability.
I think,
my highest
too.
When I go into my YouTube studio, it shows me what the key searches in my like niche are. You know, not mine, but like the general population. And the current top search is World Fitness Project, where people are obviously hitting O instead of I, and it's just happened so many times. So like people are looking for it. Even like a typoed version is the top search, so people are looking for it. But I just feel like they're just missing a trick of, think of how many thousands or hundreds of thousands of people who have watched CrossFit content or regularly consume CrossFit content, and that's so similar, while not containing the word CrossFit fucking anywhere, will just populate at the top of someone's suggestions or shorts or whatever. Like it'll just populate up, and people will be like, "Oh, what's this?" And even if 5 people do it, I don't know, it just was clunky. Like it was very clunky there was so many people saying, "Where the fuck do you watch this?" And you're saying, "Oh, go to their website." And
Dude,
then,
I was saying that until the moment that it launched like seconds before on the website. I didn't know where it was going to be.
Yeah, it's just blank. And then suddenly it just, a video thing popped up. I just don't think, like French Throwdown they had a French stream as their main stream. And then they did alternative streams in different languages, which I did the English one, and it was shit. Like it was shit. And we just changed it into a watch along because we were looking at the same stream that everyone else was, and it was just fucking impossible to commentate. But I still think that that's better than an AI generated Tommy Marquez with zero emotion saying like Dundo is Liz, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, okay, there's no emotion here, there's no excitement, there's no, like, it'd be like me listening to, I don't know, camp Sean Woodland voice saying, and he goes to the bar and lifts the bar. It's like, what am I getting from that? I'd rather listen to it in fucking German and not know what's happening than
with the excitement.
Like a bit of emotion, a bit of something. Like I've listened to Real Madrid and Barcelona play, and the Spanish commentator losing his fucking mind, and I don't know what he's saying, but I'm ready to run through a wall.
Yes,
like, you know,
I know exactly what you mean. Yep.
I just think that was a big miss.
Well, I would say on top of that too is the fact that like if you're doing like if you're putting it on YouTube and your goal is to drive up viewership to the media overall, then you want people to subscribe to the channel, right? So right now they're getting subscribers through the through just regular videos they're putting out, some of the podcasts are putting out, but it's not anywhere near the viewership if people were there streaming that and then hit subscribe, and then now you have all these new eyes on all the podcasts, which continues to build the hype. So it's like a snowball effect, I would say.
You've also lost all the, so there was no ticker counter of how many people watched it, but just say 10,000 people watched it. That's 10,000 less people that are going to watch the stream then. If you put it up on YouTube afterwards, which I think they did for some stuff, for most stuff. Yeah. So you put that up afterwards on YouTube, you've drained yourself of the majority of your views, because the people that would have watched it have already gone the extra mile to watch it where it was. They're not going to watch it again. Sorry, I don't know how to say her name. Kaya. Anyway, 1912. God, you look great for someone that was born like 100. Did they give you a reason? So it's basically the AI translation, isn't that?
Not just that.
And so subtitle or captions.
And I was told there are like ad restrictions with certain sponsors that they can't control on YouTube that they can control through their own thing. So one of the ways they're going to monetize is particular sponsors being able to be featured on that stream. And then they want control in some ways of like, I mean, they had good analytics. So I know people were talking like about all the numbers that were being thrown around, how many viewers there were, but they were posting analytics in our media channel every event or every heat. And so you could see like when Guy's heat came up, the viewership went through the roof because all the Brazilians were tuning in for Guy. They knew his times, they were there. Like, so you could see little things on the chart like that. And by weekend's end, I don't know how the analytics work, but again, they were updating us. Just I didn't care, but for other people who did care, there was like 260,000 views, whether that's unique views, multi views, whatever, by the end of the weekend on the stream in totality. And so I don't know if you can go back and watch that if that adds to the views, but that's the number that was shown to me from the like a screenshot from the analytics. So take that for what it's worth. But yeah, that's where they're getting the numbers because I saw them happening live.
Explain that advertising thing to me. So say, okay, we'll use Red Bull, right? So Red Bull are a partner. Is it to provide them with exclusivity that won't be hampered by some random AI generated ad on YouTube? Or is it to advertise a company that can't advertise on YouTube?
That's a great question. And so I didn't ask the specifics.
Okay.
That's way above my head. But it's something, either both or one of those is exactly what they're worried about. So like, yeah, Red Bull's a main sponsor. We'll say they're playing a Red Bull ad between heats, and then like YouTube jumps in and feeds you a
Monster or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So like I think that's part of what they were saying, but I don't know all the details on that. So
yeah, I guess if they're concerned about that, they could just turn off monetization.
Yeah,
and then YouTube won't play an ad.
Or maybe it's the other one then. Maybe there's sponsors that are not. I don't even know why they wouldn't.
Well, maybe YouTube
approved,
does actually play ads, even if you do that, you just don't get paid.
That part, I mean, I just know that was part of their reasoning. I don't know the details of it.
So I spoke to John Singleton put up a video, or the program put up a video the other week, and it was that the female field, one of the lines that John says, and it's at the World Fitness Project female field. This isn't a direct quote, but paraphrasing. The World Fitness, distracted by the comments. The World Fitness Project's female field, strength of field is better or stronger than the CrossFit Games strength of field. It was one of the lines that was thrown out. And I kind of stopped and thought about it, and I was like, God, that's an odd, like, I'm not sure that it is, because, okay, so there's no Tia, right, first of all. And if she goes to the games, that like completely tips the scales.
Yep.
There is a Laura, which maybe brings it back a bit. But then I was kind of looking at the field, and I was like, right, did the performances happen the way that they happened because people, like, was Laura affected by the fact that it was 6 workouts and not 12 or whatever? Like, was she held back? You know, she usually peaks later on in the weekend or whatever. But then I was like, wow, I mean, she qualified from French Throwdown and like whatever it was, second place or first place. That was only 7 workouts, I think, last year. And then you have people like Brooke Wells, Sydney Wells, who haven't qualified yet. Hypothetically, like, they may not. There's a conceivable reality where they don't qualify. Then does that like weaken the strength of field? I was like, is the World Fitness Project strength of field stronger because they're currently stronger, faster, fitter people than will be in the games field? Or is it stronger because the names are recognizable and because they have a legacy in the sport of functional fitness and they're recognizable names and, you know, they're all around 5, 6, 10 years? Is that why it's stronger? Like, I think Barkley will tell us, like, after the big weekend, after like next weekend when there's 4 semifinals or whatever, he'll tell us, okay, this is analytically, mathematically, this is the stronger field. But I think it's a lot closer than people are making out. I think people think, but look at the names. But I just don't think it's that simple. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, so that's a very deep question because, first of all, without answering it, I'm going to say this. CrossFit Games starts over every year, right? Every year from the beginning of the Open, everyone's got to play in the Open if they want to make it to the next stages and qualify again. And we get surprises every year. We get veteran athletes who bomb out, don't make it for a number of reasons: injury, underperforming, whatever. We get rookies that break out and they do make it, some of which we feel like should be in because they're just crushing it, and some of which we feel like, oh man, you only got in because you're in that region or in that semifinal, like you don't deserve to be in that group. Like we talk about that, we feel that way about different athletes, but you got to start from the beginning and you got to make it all the way to the end of the games to qualify and get there. So you're showing, you know, a little bit of resiliency versus WFPs starting with 20 pro men, 20 pro women. So those people were handpicked based on not only past performances, but also, you know, a little bit of whatever clout they can bring to the sport, right? Viewership, other things like that. And in my opinion, just looking at the way that the season structure works for WFP, which I do like, But at the same time, I would be just slightly critical of a couple things. One, it's very hard for a pro to lose their card. It's very hard for someone to unseat a top 20 person. If the pros just show up and score their points, I don't know how many people are familiar with the way the point system works. Until it's explained, it's a little complicated, but it just pros have this huge advantage over 95% of any of the challengers that qualify in. They're automatically going to get to go to each tour stop if they want. They automatically get to go to the finals. And so they don't have to start over necessarily each year. And so you're going to see some athletes who can hang out in the 15th, 14th, 16th place, just like linger year after year, I think, with a pro card, even though they're like, they could be beat out because they're consistently able to show up to these tour stops and consistently able to score points. It's so hard to get overtaken that I do think that because the field is fresh every year, you're going to get some of the more hungry up and coming athletes kind of qualifying into the games. And you're going to see a lot more veterans that have those pro cards for a long time, assuming WFP figures out how to keep it going a long time, just kind of hanging out for a while. So you will see a couple people kind of come in and out of those pro cards, but I think you're going to see a very familiar roster for years and years if they want to kind of dedicate themselves to that. So as far as strength of field goes, I don't know how you want to classify it, but like, does that make sense? The games is a little bit like fresh. You have to be ready that year, get in and go, versus WFP is kind of like the series. They keep coming back until they eventually get too old and decrepit. They can't keep their card anymore.
Some of them already are, maybe. I think it's interesting as well, because like, say there's long been talk of, well, there's no accurate way to say, but like with Apollo now, with Barkley, I think there actually is an accurate way to say, this is literally the best performing CrossFit athlete that is available to us to watch now, this person. And this is the fifth best. And this is the whatever. And he takes into account the game season and all the events within the game season, and Rogue and Wadapalooza and like a litany of tests or whatever. So it will be interesting, I think, to see next week what he comes. I texted him this morning. I said, can you do up a comparison? And he said, yes, Ben already asked me. So we both had the same idea, but it's just curiosity. It's not, and I think, again, I talked about this last night, but if you say anything that, if I was to come on and say, I think the games field is stronger, automatically I hate the World Fitness Project. I think Will Moore is a piece of shit. I think like it's a terrible idea. The athletes are assholes. I hate the athletes. All I want to do is suck off Dave Castro and that's it. Like, that's the logic that people have, as opposed to saying,
for sure,
no, but I literally just want to be told this is a better field or this is a better field. I don't care which is. I just want to know. I know which I think is, but I just want to either confirm what I think or be told no and be unfucked about it.
So the one thing you do have to consider too, in my opinion, is that you're not going to find a field like WFP at a regional or a semifinal. Like, you can't compare those two. That field's a million times better. But if you're looking at just the singular games across 10 to 13 events versus each tour stop, then you have a comparison. So that's kind of crazy that you're going to get that, at least, that level of competition at those tour stops 3 times as opposed to the game. So if you're even comparing them and it's close, then that's still impressive to get that group together 3 times in a year and watching it 3 times. So that's the one thing I'd say if you want to give yourself a leg up on something.
There is a great clip there of me just saying, I hate Will Morad. I hate the athletes.
Oh my God.
I want to suck off Dave Castro.
That's it.
Yeah, but it, like, I don't know. It's, I think, like, can you understand where people are coming from who are defensive or apprehensive or wary or questioning, like, hang on, we've heard that the World Fitness Project was started as a gym like 2 years ago, and then it morphed into a gym that was going to host a competition, and then it morphed into, well, let's bring a competition on the road, and then the gym was abandoned and let's just do the competition. And this is all a year ago, 2 years ago, 18 months ago, whatever. And then Alex Kazan is on that hybrid, I'm really fucking sorry, I can't remember the name of the podcast. The High Rocks guy does it, black-haired guy, I can't remember his name either. Fuck. Anyway, sorry. She was on his podcast and said, oh yeah, I was there in Hawaii when they came up with the idea, or when they decided they were going to do it. And it's kind of like, well, that was after the games, because they were on Kill Taylor that time, and that was like post like tragedy at the games or whatever. I think so. Like,
where are you going with this? So like,
any point, I started this like nearly 6 years ago, and any point over the last 6 years, apart from the last 8 months, I'm more than happy to stick the boot into CrossFit and HQ when they're doing something wrong and say, this is shit and you need to do better, and mock them and like literally take the piss out of them endlessly in videos and stuff. I equate that to a friend who's really like, who you can see is gaining a bit of weight, and you're thinking like, hey, you need to fucking start doing something, like you're looking a bit shit, like you're looking out of shape, like, oh, you're packing on a few pounds. Like kind of saying that sort of stuff is what I have been doing, or what people have been doing. But now it's like there's so much stuff wrong that now that would be like walking into a cancer ward where your friend is and saying, hey, you look like shit. What the fuck is wrong with you? You're a piece, you know, you just look terrible. Like you wouldn't, you know what I mean? There's a time and a place where it's like, right, this gentle ribbing or like pointing at the flaws is going to help this person, versus, all right, they need our help now because it's just gone so bad that they need help. And I think that's the situation that I found myself in with CrossFit a bit, where it was like everything was so shit that it's just like, right, it needs a lift, a bit of elevation. Like we need to get in and steer the ship or bail the boat out or whatever. And then at the same time that that's happening, you have the World Fitness Project pop up, and the narrative is one that's sort of counter culture to CrossFit in a way, where CrossFit is like grit and get on with it and toughen up and, you know, like hard shit. And like that's the whole kind of foundation of what CrossFit was for years. And
which
then
is what
I
loved.
Yeah. And then World Fitness Project is more like, well, we look after you and we'll treat you like professionals and we'll respect you and we'll give you this jacket and we'll show you a car and, you know, like whatever else. It's all about you. It's by the athletes, for the athletes. Can you understand people's apprehension, or were you apprehensive when it was coming up, having been around CrossFit for so long?
I'm very open-minded about all this stuff. And so I agree with a lot of your sentiment about what's happening to CrossFit. And I had to, like, a few people were like questioning, you know, oh, it's funny your name's Jump Ship because you're leaving CrossFit now going to them. It's like, no, I still own fucking 5 affiliates, man. Like I still, every day I'm in my affiliates using Glassman's teachings to teach people how to get I mean, I work with mostly like 50-year-old plus people daily. Like I love CrossFit. I love it. It's built my career. It's given me everything. So it's still what I do. But the apprehension in terms of like, oh my God, CrossFit's sinking, and now someone else is in here like taking some of the eyes away or taking some of the attention. We have to battle them off. No, that's not how it works. And so if I go back to one of the things I loved about CrossFit is Greg was very open about, you want to open an affiliate on that side of the street and they want to open one across the street from you. Fucking great. Let's see who can put the best product out there. Let's see who can, provide the most excellence. Who's going to be the best? People are going to come to the gym that does a better job, offers more, and just is the better product. And the other will suffer. If there's no competition for CrossFit or no challenge to them other than you guys pushing back on them on social media and YouTube, there's no actual reason to get up out of your chair and figure it the fuck out and do something that people can get behind, then there's no incentive for them to do it. And so I'm more than happy that the games is having a challenger step up and take some eyes, take some athletes and have them go, okay, if we want this to be a legitimate thing, like we need to figure out a way to get people excited about it again because we've got complacent. And I'm not trying to help the other team. This is all part of one big, massive community. This is not a big community. The games athletes, the WFP athletes, people go to Wadapalooza, people who go to Rogue, it's all the same people. And so like, I want the community to thrive. And it's really that simple. The CrossFit Games to me is always going to be the pinnacle. It's always going to be the test of fitness. And nobody can ever take that because they're the ones who defined it. They have the right to it forever. And no one's going to rewrite what is fitness. No one's going to rewrite the methodology. They can't. It's already done. It's too good. It's done. And so all you can do is offer a secondary service that maybe people get more excited about. And that's what people are trying to do. I'm okay with it. Like, put something out there. And if you want to throw a bunch of money at it and make it this big, huge production and make it exciting for people, do it. And hopefully you can figure it out long term and make it great. If you can't, it's just going to crash like a lot of other ventures have crashed, right? So they have an opportunity to do something great with it. The games has an opportunity to push back a little bit and say, or come together and figure something out. That would be cool for everybody. I don't know what it's going to be, but being afraid of a competitor and pushing back and having nothing but negative things to say or knee-jerk reactions to things, that's just showing weakness. And so I would say just kind of explore it all and get into it all and see what's going to work best for everybody. I'm very, very, very loyal to what Greg has put out methodology wise. I don't have to be loyal to this CrossFit 2.0 branding that's out there. I don't have to be. I still like it enough that I want it on my gyms. I still use it. I still call what I'm doing CrossFit, but there's other things out there too. And I'll never coach people a different way, but I'm, open to different competitions and different styles of that stuff.
Do you think though, so initially I remember it was like, I think Will was on my show and he said that, well, we initially were going to clash with, was it TFX? I think it was TFX. And they moved a week so that they wouldn't, but then they clashed with French Showdown. And then I'm looking at the European field at French Showdown. That semi-final field was weaker because of the World Fitness Project, because people went, which just like, I just found it baffling that people went to do the Challenger division. Like, I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like,
Steal a game spot.
I mean,
easy.
it worked out. Like Jen Moore got her game spot in the in affiliate. So I mean, maybe she knew that was all going to happen all along, but it just blew my mind that was happening. And it's their career, their decision, their season, whatever. I don't really give a shit, but I was just surprised. But does that maybe put it at odds? Like the kind of narrative has been, we're not competing, we're an alternative option, et cetera, et cetera. And then it's like, we're not competing, we're just bang in the middle of what has historically been semi-final season, or, like that time of year. Yeah,
it does. It does. They've decided that they're okay. I mean, it does sound like he did try to avoid one of them, but there's, for whatever reason, there's just a lot of events this season, a lot of qualifying opportunities. Like when there was semifinals that, they used to be, or even regionals, used to jam them all into 3 straight weekends, right? There'd be 2 regionals one weekend, 3 regionals the next weekend. So it's hard when the CrossFit Games season has no consistency whatsoever also. And I don't know. It's definitely competing for eyes and views, which is what it's all about, right? And athletes at a certain level. But I hope that as things progress, again, they're just starting out. So I hope that there is some sort of concerted effort to have the conversation. I know Dave Castro said that a couple meetings were blown off or whatever. I don't know what happened there. I'm not that inside, I don't know exactly what's going on.
You weren't CC'd.
No, I'm not even close to that level. I'm just,
let me just add Seth to this.
I'm just a sports analyst, man. I write scripts and then I repeat them on a show. But I mean, it's definitely competing with them, and I can see why it rubs some people the wrong way, but maybe as things mature on both sides, like they find a way to balance each other out in some way. Maybe they don't. Maybe it's an all-out war next season. I don't know. But
it's a tricky, like, I just don't see, and I want to see, and I keep trying to figure out different ways, but I just don't see where they can make a return. Like, I don't see where they can turn a profit to be like, okay, like they have to be spending $1.5 million or so on contracts minimum. They have to be.
I have no idea.
And then the venue's on top. And then if they're flying out like most of the media, most of the photographer people were from Europe, and they were all flown over the fucking there was no one even there, and they were flown over the Tuesday before, and they have to be put up.
Yeah.
Great for them. Like, no, I'm not saying don't hire people, but like, surely there's someone in fucking Indianapolis. But then you have, I don't know, it's just like, there's so much money going out that you're kind of like, where do we, like, is there an end to how much they can spend? Is it just like, guys, we're with you for 20 years, we don't give a fuck. Like, we have ridiculous fuck off money, so we actually don't care. We don't care if we never see a return on this, which I can see to be true, because unless they're actually mentally disabled, nobody thinks like that. No matter, like Scrooge McDuck locked his fucking money in his room. Do you know what I mean? You don't, no matter how rich you are, you don't just give it away.
All I can think of in terms of that is they're trying, maybe this is just speculation, I don't know, they're trying to do such a big solid job with the production and everything that goes behind it, that's one of the ways they want to attract more larger sponsors. I don't know, because maybe they want to make it look so legit, so over the top, that it's easier for these huge corporate brands to come in and say, oh yeah, I'd love to put my name on that.
Yeah, but then you have like Red Bull came in, as like, to my knowledge, Red Bull didn't pay. Adidas didn't pay. They gave them shoes, they gave them like the name, but there was no financial money passed. So then it's like, well, that's, I mean, I don't know. It's just, a lot of that stuff just seems unusual, because like, how do you claw that back there? It's sort of like the games giving 40% off the tickets. How do you, like, next year, what do you do? You're just fucked, because you're like, people are just going to wait for the 40% off. So you give Red Bull this agreement that like, yeah, come on board. Nah, don't worry about the money. Like, we've loads of that. Just could like be involved. And then next year you think, oh shit, maybe we should have asked Red Bull for money last year, because how do we start that conversation now? Have you seen the uninterrupted, this Boys Interrupted? I assume this is, because I looked at this earlier on. I was like, what the fuck is the Uninterrupted podcast? I think this is Justin Dallin and Jason's Boys Interrupted, where Will talked about the people behind it and that they build gyms in the area for people who can't afford it. Yeah, I did, but that's not like a gym. A gym is like a once-off amount of money, versus this is per event, like mental money. Per event, per season. It's insane. And then if they're adding more events, they're talking about doing one in Australia or whatever next year, maybe a second one in Europe. That's an extra event, if not 2 events, on a different continent. Like the cost just rocked. I think that's my concern, that it's like, let's do this and we'll do this and we'll give you contracts and we'll fly you out and we'll blah, 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 travel stipend, whatever. Like, it's sort of just like promising the world, and then eventually you're just like, like a point, does that point, is it, maybe I'm wrong, maybe that point never arrives. Maybe this family, the Gillettes or whatever, are so rich that they're just like, guys, we don't care, like, do whatever you need to do. But I don't know, it just seems strange. And then there's also the thing that popped into my head yesterday was, I don't expect you to answer any of this, I don't expect you to have the answer to any of this, but it's just conversational topics.
Yeah,
but you have, say, Vellner, right, who bombed at Indianapolis. They gave these guys contracts. So say you give Vellner like 70 grand, right? And you're like, right, there's your contract. And then you're thinking in your head, well, he's going to win one of them, surely. Or he'll be like top, like you're thinking in your head. I'm sure there's those kind of metrics when you're giving out the contracts. You're not just like, fuck it, 50 grand. Like, you're thinking about, right, what's the prize money? Where they're likely to finish? How many points they're likely to accrue? What would that prize money equate to over the 3 events in the final? So let's give them a little bit of a carrot, or, let's give them a carrot to compete, or let's give them just enough that they want to compete and win so they get more money or whatever. And then you have someone like Vellner who gets like whatever, 70 grand, 75 grand. And then they end up with like a $55,000 loss because he didn't do well at the first one and potentially doesn't do well at the second one. And then you're like, like, we completely overestimated what he was going to come in at and it hasn't happened. And then there's that aspect of it too. Does that fuck people over next year where they're like, right, we need to revisit some of these contracts that we gave out initially?
I mean, there has to be some, there's the initial figuring out. They're guessing. They don't even know what athletes are going to accept, not accept. They don't know if they've overpaid athletes, underpaid, because this has never been done before, right? They're setting a precedence now for the most part. And then, so there'll be people who get a pro card next year. Like what do you pay automatically someone who owns or who earns a pro card into the next season? Do they have a minimum? Maybe they already do, and I don't know what it is. But yeah, for sure, they had to make some sort of calculation to figure out what they were going to offer athletes. And I'm pretty sure, I don't know anything about these contracts, but I'm pretty sure they're not all getting paid the same amount.
No.
So you have some who are obviously much higher ticket athletes that draw more eyes and perform better. And you have some that they gave a chance to, whether they were spreading it out to different countries, different whatever. I don't even know how they selected their pros necessarily. But Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a range of what they're paying people, and I don't know if they start people lower. Again, you earn your pro card the first season. There's like a rookie minimum, kind of like in other professional leagues. I'm not sure how that's going to work, but I mean, Vellner, I don't
Can you
know.
imagine being in the warm up area and you're someone who's like, I'm getting paid $4,000, and then you see someone beside you who's like, I'm getting paid $75,000, and you're just
Well,
like, you're 18 times me.
That's why when people are asking me, "Oh, how much you getting paid?" I'm like, I'm not saying, because what if like Annie and Katrin are making like $100,000 and I'm making two or whatever I'm making.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like, and I don't really care. It doesn't bother me. I'm just having fun with this, right? It's a fun opportunity for me. But I'm also not going to be the one that stirs the money pot because I just have no info on it. So yeah.
It is pretty crazy to think about, though. And like
It
people do talk. Like, I'm sure athletes are like, "Hey, what are you?
100%. I mean,
Are you north of 20? Are you? I'm between 20 and 30. What are you on?" And then it's like, "Oh, I'm over 30." And it's like, "Uh-oh." Straight away,
everyone's
friction.
wondering that stuff. I mean, people behind the scenes are just like, I mean, no one's really
Yeah,
spreading the info,
CrossFit,
but everyone's
that's
like, I wonder what.
does not exist. I know of 4 contracts. I know 4 amounts. So even if they did sign NDAs, it just takes one person to tell one person, and then it's not an NDA anymore, and everybody knows. Or like, it just spreads, it just trickles through. Like, it doesn't take long for people to find out stuff.
Yeah.
I asked an athlete at Wadapalooza what they're on, and they just told me straight away. I just said, like, what kind of, is this like, I'm good for the year kind of money? And they told me straight away. So I don't think there are NDAs.
I think there are actually, but there are. I'm pretty sure that there are NDAs. But anyway.
Oh, that actually, sorry, that wasn't a World Fitness Project athlete. That was
right.
That was a baseball player that I was speaking to. Yeah, I think the tricky thing for them as well is that CrossFit is niche, right?
Yep.
Globally, like as just an entity, it's niche. Sport of CrossFit is like more niche than that, and then people who compete in or watch online is more niche than that.
Yep.
And then people who buy tickets and go and see a live event is incredibly niche compared to just like the world, right? You have, and like the games can't sell out. They're basically fucking paying you to take a ticket to Albany. World Fitness Project looked at least half empty throughout the weekend. And
Saturday was crazy, but Friday and Sunday were pretty empty.
Yeah, and I would attribute a lot of Saturday to the fucking challengers and all those other competitors are knocking around and like filling seats. That, I think that's my concern as well, is that like, okay, yeah, a lot of events survive through sponsorships and partnerships and that kind of like revenue generation. And then it's like, yeah, but you also need to sell tickets. And when you need bums in seats, you need like broadcast revenue coming in. So you need people to watch it online or at home. And you need people to watch it in the place. But it's such a niche market that you're appealing to, that you're appealing to the market that is there because of the CrossFit Games, basically.
Yep.
You're appealing to the pool of athletes that's there because of the CrossFit Games. And everything is just sort of everybody's just taking a bigger bite out of what's a really fucking small slice to start with.
But that's been happening for a while in some circumstances. I know other events have kind of planned their timing better, but there are other things that are also trying to take a bite out of that, right? So just because someone's doing it on a bigger scale doesn't make it more right or wrong. It just makes it more complicated, because I mean, again, you look up a weekend of competitions on the bottom of the morning chalk up email. I don't even know if they do that anymore, but they used to. And there's a list you can scroll for 3-4 minutes of competitions every weekend across the country for all different skill levels. So if you're talking about just professional level, then that is quite niche. And then the viewership is tight, and the people that are going to come are tight. But I mean, as far as like fitness competitions, there's been people who have tried to launch stuff forever and ever and ever.
Zero, from what I heard.
Is that a fact? I don't know anything about it, so I don't know
it's a 3.5 out of 5.
Okay.
Reliability. Patrick says, I have a fucking cable going across my mouth, so it's really hard to move the thing. Peter, ugh, no one calls me that. Where do most professional leagues and teams make money from? You are close to the answer. All right, so fucking cryptic. Like, okay, you look at Manchester United, right? Just to bring it back to terms that I understand. You have sponsors, you have brands that are plastering their name on around the side of the pitch or the field. They're plastering their name on the training kit. You have another brand plastering their name on the competing kit, like the jersey or whatever. You have more brands, maybe naming rights for the stadiums. You have more brands. You have merchandise, like you can buy fucking teaspoons with Manchester United crests on them. You know, anything, you can dildos probably. You can buy anything with any kind of branding on it. Tickets, like season ticket holders, you know, people just buying once-off tickets, all that stuff makes money. The league, yeah, they make money from actually playing the sport, but Manchester United is the richest football club in the world and they haven't won shit in like 10 years. So they're making money because they're selling the company, basically. It's basically floated on the stock market because they're like, hey, you can buy any part of this and have it. And
so licensing.
Yeah, like selling everything that they have. But then the issue with the World Fitness Project doing that is it's just so niche. Like millions of people watch soccer. But
hundreds of millions.
But CrossFit is just so small. Like such a small amount of people give a shit enough to buy a ticket or a t-shirt or a, you know, whatever. Like Cam Porter selling supporter t-shirts to Torian Pro. Like, think of how few people in the world are like, I'm going to buy one of them. And like, it matters to him. But like, when you look at, like, imagine Messi brought out a fucking dildo with his face on it, how many millions of people would buy it? You know what I mean? It's just the market is so small.
So how do you make the market bigger?
Is like,
how do you make it bigger? Because
not by streaming on your fucking website.
Well, I'm not saying that's the right way, but don't you want it to grow, like overall?
I do, community? Yeah, I do.
Right.
And I think if the games is successful this summer, I think that has a huge knock-on effect for stuff like World Fitness Project, Rogue, Waterplay, everything. It's like a rising tide thing, that if the games does well, everything else is just going to do well. Fans are going to start coming back that are like, fuck the games, fuck CrossFit, are going to start coming back. And they're the same fans that watch all the other stuff. Like, you're not going to have someone watching the World Fitness Project that has never watched like Waterpalooza or the games or Rogue or something. Like, it's
very few.
Minuscule amount of people.
Yes.
So I think that's my point, is like, if they're not getting money from a lot of the partners, some of the partnerships, or the headline partnerships, and if they're spending that much money on the contracts, and if they're spending that much money on the events, and if they're spending that much money just in general, and then the market is so small that they're appealing to, then it's like it must just be like, fuck it, 2035, you have a blank check until then, do what you will. Like, that's the only thing I can think of.
You're probably right to an extent. They probably have a budget and they're figuring out how many years they want to spread this budget out. Like, there's probably a agreed upon investment amount that they're spreading out and trying to grow it in the way they best see fit. I don't know. I've never been involved in growing a company at this speed, at this scale. I have no idea. Everything I've done has been very small business, grassroots. So even trying to wrap my head around how they got all this organized this fast is a bit mind-blowing. So just the people you have to bring in to head each department, you got to be paying them big money. And then they're trying to look at a 2, 3, 5, whatever X year plan down the road, how they're going to scale their department and grow it. I don't know how much money has to be unlocked to do that, but I actually don't even care. I actually don't care how much money that they put into it and invest in it. I don't. That's not my business.
I don't really care either, but I also just don't want it to be like, in 6 months' time, everyone to be like, told you so. And it's just like, bust.
But if that happens, that sucks. And we go, no, someone tried again. It didn't work. Right. That sucks. Too bad. We'll go back to
forget in 5 years.
Right. That's the thing, right?
Whoever, Ty Jenkins or whoever is old enough then, decides like, I'm going to go out and start my own league. Patrick Clark is saying TV rights, but it's like, again, it's like, how much money is that going to, like, it's the same market. It's the same, like, how much money did CrossFit get from ESPN? It wasn't that fucking much. Do you know what I mean? The reason the CrossFit, the sport, thrived for so long. Yeah, Patrick, it's a fucking huge market that you're talking about. Like, billions of people watch the Premier League.
It didn't start that way, though.
People think of how many. But the contracts didn't start that way.
Correct.
Like when the contracts were like almost zero. Like the television broadcast, they used to be allowed to stream. They used to be allowed to show the matches at 3:00 on a Saturday. It didn't matter what. And then they were like, oh shit, that's stopping people going from the games. Let's change that, and we'll pay them more money to change that. And then, well, now let's put all the big games at 4:00 on a Sunday because that's when most people are watching. So it organically generated over like 30 years. So like to say, okay, yeah, let's get TV rights, cool. ESPN are going to give us $4 million to stream something that we can't stream on YouTube because we want to use AI. How is that going to work on ESPN? Is there an ESPN AI generated? Also, do you know, was it like when you were speaking, was it live on the website or was there a delay? Because if there was no delay, the closed captions were fucking amazing. If it just went out live.
I don't know.
Like it was crazy.
I didn't watch the stream.
So you would say, I turned them on at one point, and I think Lauren was interviewing someone, and she would say the first word of a sentence and the whole paragraph would pop up on the screen. So she'd say, in that workout, and as soon as she said in, it would be, in that workout, you've started at the back of the pack and you made your way to, and I was like, how the fuck is this happening?
So it must be some delay, right? Because it's picked up.
It was crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy. I didn't watch the live stream at all. I was the live stream.
Was there like a debrief after? Was there like, did you guys get together and say, all right, what worked well, what didn't work well, what can we do differently next time?
Several times, and we've even had multiple conversations, like phone meetings since then. They're already planning.
And is that like your aspect or like the big picture?
I mean, we just have like regular like Google Meet things, and everyone who wants to talk gets a chance to talk, give feedback. The guy who leads it up, Hanu, is like super good to work with, super friendly. He's a very smart guy. From what I can tell, pretty good leader. He just gets everybody very organized, and no one has a bad thing to say about him so far that I've heard. And so Hanu just organizes these meetings, and we all talk. He gives everyone a chance to say their piece, and he lets us know what changes are coming or whatever. Again, my job, in my ear, they call me, is the talent ready? We're on in 10 seconds. Like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what they're organizing, what they're working on. They're like, hey, can you do the next tour event? Can you be ready for this weekend? Sure. This is what your outline is going to look like. Hey, do you have any ideas? Do you want to take over a specific segment? You want to do this? Cool, you can do that. Okay, have it ready. Okay, I will. That's like it. You know what I mean? So they do give me a lot of freedom, which is cool to come up with stuff.
Do you think, will there be like, if we tune into, how do you say the name of the next place? Mesa?
Yeah, Mesa.
If we tune into that one, we'd be like, oh yeah, this looks like Tour Stop 1. Or do you think after the first one, they were like, okay, we need to revisit some stuff, like spotlights, for example?
Oh yeah. Oh yes. All that stuff will be revisited. The spotlight story that I can give from my perspective, because I was talking to Hanu about it as they were doing it when we were watching. So like the way it worked is the original floor setup was different, where they were putting the racks and the barbells. And so they set up I don't know what you call it, the scaffolding or whatever that holds all the lights above the floor. They set it up one way to light the stage up a different way. And then for safety reasons, they reorganized the structure of how the floor was going to be out there. So at the last second or the last day or whatever it was, all they could do was retilt the lights. They couldn't rebuild where it was going to be. So the lights were like not in the perfect angle that they had originally tested on another time. So that was part of the light conundrum, was that they made a safety change on the floor situation. And so they had to retilt the lights to do the best with it. And Hanu was not happy with the final product. He loved the concept of it, but I could tell he was like, man, that's not exactly the way I wanted it to go. And
were they on like were they on a timer or something? Because I felt like some of them, it was like, there's no way a human manually turned that light off at that point.
I don't know if there's like a computer timer, but I think there's a, I don't know. Actually, good question. I know each of the score like things, because they have the live scoring going on. Each athlete has a person up in the media section, like pushing a button, counting reps.
Yeah.
Yep. I know that's going on. I don't know. And I know like the lights correspond with the time left. When there's like 10 seconds before the workout, it's a certain lighting. When it's go time, it's a different lighting. This is only for the top heats of the pros, by the way, not the other ones. They get like a special experience or whatever.
The other ones are just, I love the idea of the guys doing the jerks, and the other guys are just in pitch black in the corner because the lights fall focused on the other guys.
Yeah. And to his credit, though, to their credit, you have to experiment with things like that. Like it's a cool idea. In live, it looked sick. So I totally get the criticism on the photos, the video, whatever. I could see how people would want to critique it. It didn't bother me at all. But watching it live, I could see everything that people were saying they couldn't see. So it was a great live show. But I just know that it wasn't perfectly set up the way they had intended due to a last minute change. So I give them a little benefit of the doubt, but I also know that I'm sure it did bring up some safety concerns with the lights going out on a couple athletes, and I'm sure they'll make those adjustments. They're very like Hanu's super sharp. I was very impressed with him.
Do you think they were happy? Like, do you think like Will and Saxon, like, do you think afterwards they were like, great job, guys, we nailed that? Or do you think, like, because beforehand you were saying everybody was very relaxed, everybody was very, you know, like jovial, and, you know, it's great, you're going to do great, whatever. Afterwards, was the mood the same afterwards?
People were stoked after they I think everyone, obviously there's a big lead up, more so for them than me. Again, I can only give my very little perspective, right? I'm not as involved. But like there's obviously a big lead up to that first ever event they do. And when it was all done, you know, we all went on the floor after, talked to a bunch of the athletes about what they thought about the weekend. Media team was, you know, chopping it up a little bit, talking to Will, talking to everybody. And everyone was just like, you could feel the big sigh of relief, big smiles. Everyone was super happy with it. And the first thing that, to their credit, again, I know I'm just a paid shill, but to their credit, again, everyone was saying, oh yeah, very happy with how it went. We got some stuff we have to work on for the next one, but like, this was awesome. And I'm like, you know what? That's fair. Like there are some things you'll have to work on for the next one. And this was awesome. So like, cool. If that's, if you're, you know, going to follow through with saying that stuff, then that's awesome. So, and if there wasn't that, I would tell you, I'd say, man, they were like fucking dickheads about that. Like, I can't believe they felt that way. I'm not going back. It's crazy. But if I didn't, like I said, if I didn't enjoy my time there, the money's not drawing me in, right? It's the opportunity. So if I was like, this really isn't for me, I was not happy with a lot of this stuff, I would have just removed myself, said, guys, thanks for the opportunity, I'm not going to come back. But the way it went, I'm stoked to go back to Mesa and be on the show again and have fun with it again. Like that's a fun thing for me. I thought of more things that are negatives that I could bring up to you. So one thing I really didn't like, this is just my personal take, again, from a competitive point of view. I don't like, first, I love Colton. I don't like that they gave Colton a freebie into the next pro thing or fee. I don't think they should do that, and it's up to them to do. That's up to them. But like I said earlier in the show, it's so hard to get a pro card from these pro athletes, giving just an advantage like that, skipping a qualifier, which inevitably both Colton and Fee would get through and get back to the pro division, more than likely, unless something crazy happened. I just don't think you should be letting certain people skip a step when the online qualifier is so valuable to make the cut line between pro and challenger, because now one person is now pushed away 10% of their opportunity to get up to pro, to get pro points. And again, is it likely Colton would just win the next qualifier again? Of course. But you got to, like, if that's the rules, you just make them earn it. And if you want to change it next season, change it next season. So I didn't like that. But again, not up to me. They want to make that call, and they want to make that the new standard, award a free pass to the next one for the highest challenger finish. Like, cool. I mean, you can make that rule. It's totally fine. But to just surprise people with it, it's like, we haven't been talking about that in any of the shows we've been doing about how you earn your way back, and now they just got in. Okay. All right. We'll roll with it. But yeah, I just think it should be a bit more consistent.
I think as well, the thing that was funny about that was, I think I said this last night as well, was that for years people have been like, fucking CrossFit changing the season structure season to season and changing the rules season to season. And it's like, World Fitness Project did it after one event. But you're not allowed to say that it's bad, because if you say that it's a bad thing to change the rules, then you're against the athletes and you're against the World Fitness Project.
Well, I will say changing rules is good. Like, if there's a rule that needs to be changed, you do need to change the rules.
Causing a problem, but not just to be like, fuck it, and like hand out a free pass. And again, I don't know Fee that well, but I really, really like Colton. Like, I'm I consider him a friend, so I would be very keen for him to be handed a good opportunity.
Right.
But I just think it's kind of bullshit that he was.
I'm
Did
with
you
you.
smoke much weed when you were down there? Was there much THC being passed around, or many gummies?
I was like, wait, what? I don't smoke weed. I don't. So actually, you want to talk about that real quick? Because I actually have a little bit of a devil's advocate on that from my extensive drug enforcement background. So from my perspective,
Anyone
that
doesn't know, Seth was an undercover drug cop.
Yeah, for
like
many
10
years.
years or whatever. Yeah.
So that was like a no-win situation. And so like I know people are harping on, I think people are mostly harping on Will for the rule change, right? Or not communicating the rule change.
I think people are mostly
the,
harping on spin, but go on.
Oh, fair enough. So like here's what I would say. Like, what do people want Will to do in that situation? So he decides, okay, whether he did or didn't change the rule in March, like you can argue that, whether because some people say he's lying, he's not lying, whatever. What is he supposed to do? You either say, oh, that's the rule. We're going to have to get a test now from Gazan. Oh, she popped for THC. Now we have to decide what kind of penalty to levy on her. Okay, she's let off with a freaking warning and a strike in her record, or she's given a 1 tour stop penalty or whatever they decide to levy. And then the next day, does he go, oh, by the way, moving forward now, we're not going to enforce THC anymore? Because at some point he was going to change that rule anyway, right? So, because he said he was, and I do believe that. And so like, when was he supposed to change it? Do you change it after somebody tells you that they did that? Were you supposed to, obviously not putting it in the rule book if he did change it ahead of time is just a blunder. Should have done that. But like now it's a losing situation. No matter when he changes it, he's going to get flack for it. And it should change. So like you give, let's say you say, oh, Gazan, we were going to collect the sample from you. You tested positive. We're giving you a 2-year ban at WFP. But then the rest of the tour stops, you can use THC willy-nilly. Oh, and by the way, now we're freeing Gazan from her ban because we don't enforce that anymore. So now she's, that's been expunged. Like how do you handle that? It's going to get changed anyway. So what are you supposed to do? It's this discretion that comes with that. Just like cops have discretion over, you catch someone with a bag of weed, are you going to enforce that rule or not? Prosecutors have discretion. The cop caught someone with a bag of weed. Are they going to prosecute that person or not? Judges have discretion. The prosecutor brought the case to the trial. Is the judge going to levy a penalty on that person or not? And so Will has the discretion to say, yeah, we're not dealing with THC. Thanks for telling me. Oops, I'll go ahead and update that. All good. And not have it be like this huge blow up. Like he has that right. Everyone has discretion when they make the rules. I don't get the problem with it.
Well, would that not be the same as... So they put out a press release yesterday or an email or whatever saying like that it was changed in March and blah blah, right? So then I think now there's 2 issues. Now it's like what you're saying. It's like, wait, did you actually change it in March, or are you just saying you changed it in March? And if you're just saying you changed it in March, did you change it but just not change the rule book in March?
Right.
Which, as you say, is a blunder. But then it's like, okay, then just prove it. You have to have an email thread somewhere that says in March, oh yeah, we need to change this, or we're going to change that, or whatever. It's the same as Kyle Rolfe calling barbell spin and saying, look, she's not injured, you can't, whatever. And then it's like, prove it. Just go live on Instagram now and do a jerk. And then it's fine, it goes away. And it's the same with this. It's like, just prove it. Just say, no, he's wrong, or they're wrong, or whatever. Here's the proof. And just show it. Straight away, everything goes away. And I think the issue, from what I understand what you're saying, is that like, well, it's like, it's not as if she took fucking tren or something, but it still is a rule that was in place for the field that she didn't adhere to.
Yep.
It sounds unknowingly, she didn't adhere to it. And it's not like if she took tren, we wouldn't even be fucking having this conversation. And that's the thing, is that it's a rule, the same as you cannot take this drug, you cannot take this one. Mm-hmm. So you cannot take this drug, but you really cannot take this. It's like, it's either there or it's not there.
No, but that's actually how real life is.
This isn't real life. This is a rule book for a sport.
Well, you follow laws that are written down in a rule book too for your life, right? So this is the only perspective that I can have for it. There has to be discretion, and reasonable people have to make decisions based on the totality of circumstances.
But is that not the same as Brooke Wells showing capacity? That it's just like, well, like, it's fine, it's her, it's okay.
They made a judgment call on that, right?
And nobody's happy with it though.
Okay.
Well, Brooke was happy with it.
I'm not arguing right or wrong here. What I'm arguing is that there's no black and white in anything. Everything has levels of gray to it. And so when the situation came up with something that they obviously weren't going to enforce, whether they announced it or not, changed it or not before, or didn't, they still just have to deal with it. And the fact that, there's no way to levy a punishment on an athlete for THC when nobody is let's say nobody, many people are not following that, and nobody considers it to be an advantage. So in CrossFit and WFP and other sports, people are going to use it anyway, and they decide what punishments to give or not to give. But there's discretion in there, so you can say, oh, they're making up the rules as they go, and they sort of are. And so they're going to, just like, again, if I use my real life example, I catch you with a bag of weed. Pedro, you've been a good dude. You've been totally cooperative. I'm just going to throw this away. Walk on, man. It's still written in the law that clear as day, you cannot possess this. You can be punished up to this amount. But I'm just like, dude, you're a good dude. Take off. Just don't do that again.
Can be. It's like you're potentially liable for whatever, or possible prison sentence, possible whatever.
Yes.
As opposed to in the rule book I haven't read the World Fitness Project one, but I've read the CrossFit one, where it's I assume it's similarly worded, where it's banned substances and just a list of banned substances. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. And the penalty, and I agree with you, right? They made the list, but the penalties are not clear. Is it written exactly what you have to get for each of those things?
I don't know.
So again, I'm not arguing right or wrong. I'm arguing that discretion lies between all of this, right?
I just think as well that the issue is, so people have long pointed at that capacity conversation in particular. I know you're short on time. I won't keep you much longer.
That's all right.
That capacity conversation there's been talk about favoritism, and it's not fair, and it's not right for the other athletes, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right. And then you have this kind of scenario of, my question is, all right, if that's not Alex Gazan, does the situation play out the same way? If that's not Will that she said it to, does the situation play out the same way?
Great question.
If that's a different drug, does the situation play out the same way? If she went up and said, oh, I took RB 71215 accidentally in my tea this morning, is it don't worry, we'll take that out, don't worry about it. And then the issue of it being, is it performance enhancing? Is it not? I don't give a fuck. It's in the rule book. So it says you can't take it, so you can't take it. So if it's if caffeine is in the rule book, sorry, bro, C4 is out. It's just the rules. And then if you look at the comments on Spin, it's fucking mind blowing that half the people are like, you just fucking hate the athletes and you hate World Fitness Project. And then pretty much everybody else is saying, but it's not even performance enhancing. It shouldn't be banned. And it's that's not up for debate though.
Yeah,
whether it should or shouldn't be.
No, I agree. That's not the point.
So you just follow the rule. And then to your point of, well, it's at their discretion and they can change whatever. And then it's kind of right. I don't know. I just think that sets a dangerous precedent.
It does.
To just flip and say, if it is the case that they did change it in March, I actually don't have a problem with it then. It was poorly communicated. It was a big fuck up. They should have told all the athletes at once, not just Alex. They should have told everybody, and they should have put out a press release straight away saying, we fucked up. We meant to change this, or we did change it but didn't release it, whatever. We didn't update it. Here's proof. Here's an email thread from the 3rd of March. And you can see here this email from Will saying, guys, I might be a bit high, but remove the THC, XOXO. And then just show that and say, there's your proof. Same as Emily Rolfe. If you're not injured, go and jerk a barbell. Prove it. And then the whole thing goes away. Yeah. And both of those situations have a parallel. They have a common denominator in Spin, but both of them have a parallel of, it's so easy to prove that what you're saying is true or what is being said is a lie. So just prove it. But instead, World Fitness Project came out and said, we changed it in March. We just didn't, we didn't update the rule, but we didn't. It's okay, we just take your word for that you changed it. And who did you tell? And who knew and who didn't know? And how many did the challengers know? Was it just Alex that knew? Did the whole field know? Did you tell Alex and then tell her, hey, go tell everyone else? So that's the bit that I don't like. Yeah, and I totally understand exactly what you're saying. But let me ask you this. We'll play a little role playing here. So you're Will. And so Alex comes up and tells you, and you have not changed that rule yet. Okay. It's still, THC is still on the list. She tells you that. What is the next step that you're going to do for her? So we'll leave it at that.
She comes up, she just won. She says, "Hey, I took THC on whatever night. I know it's on the list. I'll probably get a test here soon. Like what's the next step?"
Isn't it? Am I wrong in saying that if you go for a drug test, they test for specific things? They don't just do like a broad spectrum of
They
tests.
probably
It's
wouldn't
like,
even test for THC. In
that's
fact, I
the
don't
thing.
think they
I just
do.
be like, they're not
Correct.
going to test for it anyway, and it's meant to be out of the rule book. It'll be updated, so don't sweat it. They're not. It's not going to show up in this. This is going to test for A through D, and you're at Z. Don't sweat it.
That's what you say to Alex, or that's what you would announce ahead of time?
That's if I had forgotten about it until Alex said it to me, I would call all the athletes over and be like, I fucked up. I'm really sorry. This is what's happened, whatever. If I realized ahead of time, I'd put out an announcement saying, we fucked up. I'd broaden the blame in that situation. Like, we fucked up. Hanu fucked this up. He was supposed to send out an email. He never sent it out. But I'd be like, right, it's not, don't worry about it. It's not going to be tested for anyway. It fucking never is, because who gives a shit? But it's on the banned list, but it's not on the banned list for other sports. We meant to take it off ours and we didn't. But there's been no, that's the thing that I don't like, is that there's been no, oh, sorry.
Okay.
It's just like, no, spin's retarded. We did this in March. Like, that's, and the only good thing that's come out of this, from my mind, is that Alex Kazan has shown every fucking athlete that ever gets called out for doing anything or that ever fucks up how to handle the situation. She called into Sevan when they were talking about it. She didn't hide away from it. She went on Sevan the next day. She didn't hide away from it. She commented on a video by Hiller. She didn't hide away from it. She made her own video taking the piss out of herself. She didn't hide away from it. She didn't block anyone. She didn't run away and hide under a rock. She built her profile up higher than it was 3 days ago by virtue of how she reacted to this. That's the only good thing that's come out of it. Everything else is fucking stupid.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I just think it sets a dangerous precedent, because then it's like, oh yeah, we meant to take Tren off the list. No, don't worry about it.
Yeah, I just I agree with you, but I just feel like reasonable people will classify things slightly differently, right?
Yeah.
So like, for example,
I understand what you're saying about the
you want it more black and white, but it's not as you would prefer it to be more cut and dry, so there's no controversy.
I just think it literally is black and white in the rule book for the sport, so therefore it should be a black and white situation.
But are the punishments black and white?
I don't know, but I just mean if it's on the banned substance list and there's a fucking parallel punishment or whatever, you just follow it. That's it.
Fair enough.
Or you come out and say, guys, I fucked up. That was not supposed to be on our bad substance list. And I know this looks bad because it's Alex and we're friends and we were in fucking Hawaii and we were high as fuck when we were there. But like, I would come out and I just say, look, I fucked up. Sorry. We'll do better from now on. Instead of, oh, guys, what's the big deal? We changed it back in March.
Oh, okay. So I guess I see your issue with it a little more then.
Yeah. Are you expecting things to be drastically different in Mesa?
Not
will
for
it still
me.
Be the same amount of events, do you think? Will it still be the same? Will it ever get more? What was it, 6? Will it ever be more than 6, do you think, or no?
I think I don't know. They haven't let me behind the curtain on any of the programming or anything like that. But I imagine it's going to be a similar format on all the tour stops except for the finals. I think the finals is like 9 events or something like that. I think it's an extra day, so it's a bigger, longer test. But I think all the smaller tour stops I think will be in that. I think they had 6 official workouts and one of them was a 2-parter, workout 4.
Yeah. The smart thing from Alex would have been not to talk about it. Now she caused a storm for an organization that had given her a great opportunity. Yeah, I mean, she caused a storm for herself more so. Like, she fucked up twice.
So and this isn't that big. I mean, I guess it's annoying and people want to harp on it and people can take it for what it is. But it also got people talking about WFP more. So
and Alex. Imagine if she took heroin. God, everybody would be talking about her.
Well, as a reasonable person, you make that joke because you know it's different, right?
I know it's definitely not performance enhancing. I know that. I think the responsibility. I believe the responsibility lies with Will and whoever else is on that side of things, like the rulebook side of things. Then the responsibility lies also with Alex in a similar level of responsibility because she did it and then she didn't follow the rules.
Mhm.
I think then there was more responsibility lies with Alex because she went and talked about it. I think more responsibility lies with Talking Elite Fitness because either they didn't listen to what she was saying, didn't understand what she was saying, or didn't care what she was saying. That was a pre-recorded interview that they easily could have said, hey, Alex, on this podcast, you actually said, do you want us to take that out? Or are you okay with that? Or what's the story? But they didn't even ask a follow-up question. So it stands to logic that they were all just like, like fucking, what are those dogs in the back of a car that used to be around in the mid-noughties? Just like nodding away and then, right, what's my next question? And just didn't listen, or else you would have surely said, what did you just say? So I think the responsibility lies there too. And beyond that, I think Alex handled it really well. I think she did everything that should be done if something like this happens. If you get called out, or if Hiller makes a video, or if you do something wrong, or if you're duplicitous, or if you're whatever, I think she handled it perfectly. I'm not saying she was duplicitous, just giving other examples. Holy shit. 4-year sanction in the rulebook for possession of for possession, surely for taking it, no? Attempted use and possession.
I'd have to see I'm not saying that she's wrong, but I'd have to see the verbiage if it's a mandatory or if it's up to, or
you could face or whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I'm sure there are stiff penalties for that. But just like possess some crack, and there are some stiff penalties federally for that too. But they don't.
I wonder is that a cross sport, because they use the same crowd as CrossFit, don't they? So then that fuck her up completely if they follow that rule. So
because I think
changed it in March.
Yeah. I mean, look, the ball was dropped in multiple places as you just outlined, but I don't think that it necessarily has to come to any sort of huge punishment anywhere. It's a lot of wrist slapping and lessons learned, I think, more than anything.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna let you go. You said to keep it to an hour, and we're already at an hour and 20. Thanks, Seth, for coming on and talking for so long about so much different stuff. Thanks everybody for watching in the live chat or whatever. You can go back and watch. John Young did Grid, and it was on Spin. They did a live stream. You can go back and watch that. And what day is today? Saturday. Sunday, nothing. Monday, I think a Syndicate 7 show, I think. It's in page 5, section 11, if you want to read it, Seth. Nice. All right. Thanks, guys. All the best. Good luck. God bless.